Hello, everyone. I'm Rashmeet Kaur, and I'm back with this particular month's interview with people who are working in the sustainability domain. As you all know, we are taking this interview for International Supply Chain Education Alliance, and this is our series for the certified sustainable supply chain professional folk, people who are doing great in the domain, and we need to talk about them. These are the change makers for the next generations to come. Yes, it's a very ironical statement that I just made there. These change makers are for the next generation because they are doing an amazing project. They are running an amazing company that actually helps save the world for the generations to come. So, welcome to these two amazing people that I have here. And for everyone's benefit, let me first introduce you to them. So, today we have with us, firstly, Anup Kumar. Anup is a mechanical engineer by qualification. He has over 18 years of industry experience in various MNCs, and he has worked in the oil and gas industry for and in the control valve industry, and he had started a career in India, but for the last 15 years he has been based out in Dubai, UAE. But interestingly, like I said, for the last 1 year he has been associating in developing what is called as Industrial, and his role in Industrial is the concept and the business development of the material cloud division. Do not worry, we will go into the details of that right in this interview. So welcome, Anup. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Rashmeet. I'm very glad to be here. And thank you so much for the opportunity given to introduce a platform to the crowd. And we will talk about that in later. Thank you.
Amazing. So welcome, Anup. Next we have with us is Adit Haridas. Adit is an entrepreneur and a technocrat. He has donned many hats in his long stint in cybersecurity, infrastructure and cloud management, product design development in multiple geographies. He's always wanted to get back to his first love, which is product business, wherein he loves to sell technology, set up channels, and runs operations. He's an advisor and board member for cybersecurity industry 4.0 startups and mentors two other cyber physical startups and a cybersecurity monitoring program. He enjoys training his colleagues, students, working professionals, and has delivered various seminars in national and international platform. And his mantra in life is learn from anyone and teach everyone. And I can vouch for that, as I have been associated with Adit for a while now. Currently, he's a director in COE, SCM and digital at Industrial. So welcome, Adit. So glad to have you here too.
Thank you, Rashmeet, for the opportunity. It's a pleasure. Thanks to ISCEA as well. Great to be associated with you. Let's jump in.
Perfect. Amazing. So I'm going to get started, and, just to give a base for everyone, we all need you to tell us about your company, your work, Industrial. Just let's start right at there. So any one of you, go ahead, take your call. Just introduce us to Industrial.
So I'll take that question. So this was a very interesting journey for me. I have always been associated with a technology company. And when this whole idea of a sustainable marketplace that embraces the latest technologies like cloud, AR, VR, right up to SCM technology, supply chain management, I said, why not give it a shot? So a little bit of sensing happened in the market. Whoever we discussed with always had this question: where do we start our sustainability journey? Where do we get these carbon points? What is the start? We are hiring a sustainability officer. Procurement managers who have spoken to us very recently. Yesterday also, I've had a very interesting chat with a large oil and gas project head. They've all been hearing this buzzword. One more small snippet. Recently, we just concluded Gas Tech in Abu Dhabi, and we're having a similar conference in Qatar as well. The amount of gas to liquid, sustainability, cradle economy, circular is right up there in most of the hoardings. So if you just span your view across all these hoardings of these large oil and gas companies, they're not talking about oil, gas, or refining. They're more and more talking about sustainable, reusable, EV, how to save the world. So when Anup approached me and said, can you build a platform for me? I said, why not? It sounds very interesting. So that is how we started. So to conclude, the summary is Industrial is an e-marketplace. We have buyers and sellers who wish to sell new sustainable circular economic products that are helped to save the world. Raw material is coming from waste. There is a second most important thing, that is not new products which are sustainable. The non-sustainable products that have not been used, we call them excess, which is the long end of the supply chain. Very, very few people have given importance to that, and it is ever increasing. We talk about consumption, we talk about managing our consumption, but it has not happened well so far in industry. So excess material, unopened material, materials that have been quality tested, lying in warehouses ready for scrap, which is adding even more weight to the already bleeding environment, is our second module. So we have new sustainable material, we have excess material that is already a sunken cost in your warehouses. And finally, operating companies who think they need to change a machine that they've recently bought due to whatever reasons. There could be a change in the scope, change in the setup time. You talk about pull and push manufacturing here. Sometimes you need to upgrade to a latest SCADA DCS system. Whatever is used material, which is not very old, can be extended, warranty can be extended, is somebody else's new material. So that's the third part, which is about trading in used and already existing material by increasing the warranty period. So in short, that's what we do. We trade in sustainable material, we trade in excess material, and we facilitate old and used material which has a good shelf life by increasing its warranty and quality. So that's a quick brief, Rashmi, into what Industrial does. Over to you.
Interesting. That sounds interesting. Definitely. Anup, do you want to add to that? Because I love the part wherein you definitely said that you approached others, let's do this thing together. Two great men coming to do great things for the next generation. Let us know what's your take into this, and how did this idea kind of, occur to you?
Yes, Reshmi, definitely. So basically, I'm from an oil and gas industry background. I have been working in few companies for last 18, 19 years. So I have seen many times this kind of situations happening in most of the time contractors or the end users, where they are getting these excess materials or due to various reasons, and which they don't use at all. So and after a few years they sell it for scrap. So we are thinking okay, at the same time, on the other side, some other contractors looking for a savings in the cost of buying, or due to some delivery issues or lead time issues or urgent SOS calls from the site. So they're looking for the materials which are readily available from the stock. So there are some materials available on one side and which are not used for its purpose, and it can be reused by somebody else on the other side, as Adit said. So I got this business concept of linking this both buyers of these materials and the suppliers together. But we need a strong, to build new marketplace, we need a strong IT background, which I'm basically from a different domain. So Adit is my college mate also a few years back. So we studied together in a different branch in engineering. So I was talking to him about developing this business concept into an e-marketplace, so which Adit is giving his all wholehearted support to build the technology which is needed to make this platform into a reality, which is currently we are starting our operations. So I'm very thankful to Adit also to contribute his part very well.
See, now that's what I call as partnership, and I say work-based friendships. You come together and you bring life to an amazing idea. So thank you for sharing that, about the organization. So now that we know that, we talked about multiple times, we had a mention about sustainable products, excess material and stuff like that. Let's just kind of take it a further, take it a little more further and talk about how does the work associate with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, because that's what we have to work towards. So, Adit, probably you can go ahead and talk about it.
So UNSGD is something that's close to Anup's heart, but when he first approached, I had been, I would say, illiterate when it comes to supply chain, as well as the whole process of material used in building a valve, or we call it manufacturing process. So it's been a learning curve for me. And what I understood from the interactions that I've had with people like you, Rashmeet, and with Anup is that we are in a very interesting phase of life, right? We've just finished a pandemic. There is a huge supply chain disruption that is happening. Nobody knows what material I would require and from where it is going to come. So one thing I understood as a technocrat is that there should be a readily available index of information. So when we talk about supply chain, we talk about a flow, and the flow consists of information flow, it consists of material flow, and it consists of cash flow. That's the three flows that we talk about in supply chain. And of course, you have to bring in the sustainability angle, which is your series. And then we also talk about the three A's of supply chain: agility, adaptability, and alignment. Now, these things are what really Anup asked me, or Anup and you, or all the people that have been in association with supply chain as well as material asked me to do. So we started out by asking this question: how can we do the flow, material, cash, as well as this thing? That is when UNSGD came up and said there is something known as a consumption of material that has to be regulated. You cannot just go on having excessive consumption, just keep on eating or producing plastic or producing iron. So that was one UNSDG that I thought is going to hit. The rest, I think I would pass on to the expert to discuss that, but this is where the starting point is. So Anup, over to you.
Thank you. As we know, the United Nations has developed 17 goals and conveyed it to all the different countries and organizations to follow, which will lead us to a sustainable living in the earth. As we all hear about the climate changes, calamities, everything. These kind of issues are happening due to various reasons. So we, as professional working in this industry field, there is something which we could do. So where we could distribute the excess materials or the used materials to the needed person through our platform. So we are aligning with 6 out of 17 United Nations SDG goals, like 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 17. So the most predominantly the 12th one, which is responsible consumption of goods. So we are perfectly aligned with this concept. So along with this business concept of sustainability and alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, we also need to keep in mind that it has to make value in addition to the sustainability, also money-wise value to the clients on the both side. So when one slight issue with the sustainability is that when we take the word sustainability, people always think that it's very expensive. It's something which is not easily we can do. It takes some time and we need to invest money to get return after maybe a couple of years. So the way we are talking, the business model we are talking, it's directly impacting them along with the sustainability and savings and the energy and things. It also saves money for the buyers as well as the suppliers. I'll just explain you how it is. So when you are talking specifically about the excess materials, which Adit has explained at the beginning, saying that this excess materials can happen to a contractor or an end user who is buying the material due to some reasons like wrong specifications, engineering mistake, or delivery lead time issues, or project cancellation, things like that. So there are many things happening in the industry, which because engineers are involved, human beings are involved. Sometimes there can be human errors or mistakes can happen. So this kind of excess materials are getting produced. They are keeping in these materials in the stock for a few years, and finally they will sell it as scrap. So when they are selling it for scrap, it goes back to the foundry and they melt the equipment as it is, and they use only the metal inside that particular items. So if it is an instrument which has a lot of, say, glass, tubes, plastics, or metal, other meters or sensors, things like that. But when it's sold as scrap, they're just getting maybe less than 10% of their buying price, which is it's a huge loss for the sellers. And all the energy or all the effort put into make that particular equipment and goes into waste. So if you use that particular instrument for its purpose, which is as an excess material, we can save all the reproducing this material to its model by somebody else, or we can save or at least we can save the amount of carbon dioxide emitted to the atmosphere in making that particular instrument. So when a buyer is looking for this material, he can get savings in terms of the buying cost, as we are talking about the excess material. So the people are ready to sell maybe say 30 or 40% less than their bought out price. So we are talking about sustainability. We are talking about the savings for the buyers and the sellers. So the way we propose this business model we definitely think that it will be an advantage for all the parties involved, and we are moving towards sustainable development goals, which is provided by United Nations for our future. So we are very happy in that way. We're meeting all different dimensions of a business in such scenarios.
See, now that is what I call like really exciting, because there are some really brilliant points that you made in there. And those are the general premonitions people have about sustainability. When they think about value from a sustainability lens, people are generally almost always thinking that it's only going to impact be good for like probably the future generation and the climate change. But I love the fact that you said that you have created a business model such that the products that are already in the pipeline or in the current linear supply chains as well, even they are going wasted, and all the effort, be it the all the energy and the effort that has gone into producing it, it's not being fully utilized. So we were basically preparing for or manufacturing for nothing. It's a waste. So I love the fact that you are basically retaining the value of the product, and it's being used with its original intention for which it was produced. I love that aspect about value that you mentioned there, and most definitely about the alignment with the multiple dimensions of UN SDGs. That's something amazing. Not all the organizations or all the business models that run in the domain can connect to various dimensions. I'm just glad that this amazing matchmaking kind of that's the word I'm using, matchmaking, kind of an e-commerce sustainable platform is doing great. And kudos to you for that. I mean, that's an idea that was like just right there. I'm so glad that you could actually do something about it and that it's live now. So now that's about the alignment with the UN SDGs. Let's just again talk more about clients now. So who would you say are your clients, or who would be your ideal clients, now that you are live and looking at what's the industry that you are targeting in general, or maybe to start with?
So when you're talking about the clients, we have two types of clients in the platform. One is the sellers and the other one is the buyers. So the sellers are the people who list their excess materials, their used equipments, or their sustainable new materials in the platform. And we have the buyers at the same time who are looking for this kind of materials to use for its purpose itself, not as scrap. So our clients, the predominant clients in the platform would be the listers, which are like contractors in the oil and gas industry, contractors in the construction industry, and the water industry and the power industries. So along with the contractors, there will be end users who buy these materials from various clients. And we also will have the people who make the stock of these materials, like trading companies and stockists. So the story with the stockist is that they have a lot of materials in their stock. So after a year or two, when they will start to sell these materials for discounted value. So, and maybe again, after maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years, they will sell it for scrap because the remaining materials. So the problem with all these listers are that the materials which are available in their platform, it's not getting enough visibility in the market. So there are requirements for the materials on the other side, and there are availability on this side. So we are connecting these two people and bringing more visibility to their materials to the market, not only within a region or within or across the globe itself. We are providing this visibility so that they get more buyers and there is more chance of selling these materials. So at the same time, the buyers will be like the people who are the same contractors on the other side looking for these materials on SOS levels, or the companies who are doing the service industries, or the end users who has some failures in the field looking for the materials which are from the stock. And they can get it most probably from the local market itself, because we are listing the materials within the country, or I have a better chance as a buyer. I'm getting a better view of the materials which are already available in my country. So that's something, an advantage we are providing to all the buyers, along with the possibility to get it sourced from the other countries as well. So we are in the process of starting the listing of materials. We already have received a few listings, a good number of listings from our clients. So in coming weeks, we'll have more and more. So we are looking forward to it.
Interesting. So we'll actually be, genuinely looking forward to how this goes, because I love the fact that there is like an array of clients there, and there are people from like multiple domains. So there will be multiple types of stakeholder involved. Very true in its spirit to any supply chain, in general, multiple stakeholders. And I love that you talked about how you are adding value and providing value to each of these stakeholders there. And that's the very essence of the people pillar in supply chain functioning in general. So thank you for sharing that. Now, this was about the clients and the stakeholders. Let's just talk about the, market at the moment. How do you think market is in entirety right now? Is it ready for such a product? Is there a demand? You must have done some amount of like research before actually investing and getting started on that. I'd love to hear about the market readiness and the market outlook at the moment for the platform.
So the market readiness has been, it's the sensing has happened scientifically as well as by gut. Scientifically, we have been having interviews with supply chain managers, with procurement managers, category managers, and Anup spoke about safety stock, and that was one of the first use cases that we're trying to address. Now, safety stock keeping in your warehouse may or may not be used. But if you index it and if it is searchable on the internet, you have a better way to rotate the stock. So that was the first use case, and that is the first market that we have targeted. The type of buyers that you find in this are operating companies. So when you have an oil and gas refinery, the asset is built by, let's say, a government-owned, state-owned refinery, and they give it to a private player to run it for them. And that's a 5-year or a 10-year contract. Now, the government is only worried about profits. What comes, the value that the operating company has to provide is they need to run this asset, they need to sweat this asset, bring out money, give something to the government, take something back. In that case, more often than not, what we've seen is excess stock, surplus stock, safety stock. These supply chain issues are a huge drain on their balance sheet. Now, why should you buy and keep when you really know your lead time? Who's your supplier? Right there, indexed. Some of them is excess, some of them is being used, and some of them you can replace with a sustainable chain. And you can always go back and ask for carbon numbers as well, carbon exchange as well. So that is one aspect about the market that we are addressing. The second is construction. Now, construction, we've seen what happened in China recently. I mean, we don't want to get into that. There is a long, some amount of correction that is happening in the construction business. Whether you take India, which is the market I come from, or be it China, the big market, now it's going more towards affordability. We're looking at Pakka House project from the Prime Minister. We've seen those kind of initiatives across Southeast Asia. And this is an area where an excess material from a National Highways Authority or a Sharpoji Palaji or one of the big builders can be used for a Pakka House. Now, Pakka House contractors has to make a Pakka House at a very small margin. Now, why should you again go and buy new supplies when there is an existing listing out there? That is the second set of market that we are very keen to address in India, as well as a similar scenario we have faced in the UAE as well. UAE, as well as the Saudi Arabia, I would also like to say Qatar is a little different, but UAE and Saudi Arabia had gone through a construction boom. There is a lot of correction happening. Now, again, there is a value that needs to be given to the end user. There is a quick question on cost, about margins. It was not the old construction boom. Every material that you buy, every material that you disown, is the word sometimes they use, has to be accounted for in your financial statement. That's the next set of customers. The last is energy. Dubai Electricity Water Authority, Abu Dhabi Adwiya. I've been in touch with the Telangana public distribution system, as well as the Telangana Power Supply Corporation. Everywhere you go, the buzzword is EV. Now, you have EV, you have less and less of fossil fuel, you have more and more sustainability in all these energy spaces. Whether you are desalinating water, or you are producing electricity, or you're consuming or distributing electricity, the cost of distribution production has to come down, as well as make it more and more sustainable. Now, that's another area when we might have a very focused new sustainable material for EV, for battery chargers. We are going to look at a process-based service where we don't use heating, melting process, but we are going to look at ion exchange and the newer processes that are there. Solar is going to get a huge focus. Anup might even talk about it, the Solar Alliance that the Prime Minister has spoken when he was in the US. So these are some of the immediate markets that we have sensed and kept it on the ready reckoner in our platform. Now, as we move forward, yes, we will be looking at geographical footprint, increase of presence in other countries, other regions. So EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa is where we've started. We will, of course, have a huge focus in Europe, because that's where OEMs are situated. That's where the forges and places where stuff is built is situated. India is, again, a producer. China, of course, not at this point in time, but Southeast Asia, we're very keen. And then moving forward, of course, the big market, which is the US. So that's geographical. And then the other market segmentation that we've done is further segmenting the new material as well as the excess material into whatever that we've discussed. So this is how we have targeted the market. Now is time to campaign and then get the right eyeballs, get the right messaging, get more buyers, get more sustainable officers interested in that you can start a sustainable journey with us. And of course, the supply chain and procurement education. That's something that I will talk about again. So where we have to work together as ISCE and discuss with other supply chain procurement officers about the need for sustainable supply chain. So that's about the market, Rashmi.
Amazing. So you did talk about both the aspects here. So I do want to point out once again for the listeners, if they weren't listening, this might be our solution to a safety stock problem. Huh? This might be the solution. I think as supply chain professionals, young ones like me, or the seasoned ones, we all have been talking about inventory and inventory being a problem, safety stock being a problem. And in all this while, we were always questioning that, it's a linear supply chain. At the end of the day, something is going to waste. So now it's not. So I think cross industry from a market perspective, I'll repeat it for all the listeners, that this might be your solution to your safety stock problem, So it's something that you should actually go ahead and check. Really love that fact that you mentioned about it, and that's why I felt like it's worth repeating once again, because it's a classic problem we have been studying and seeing cross industry. And from the future expansion perspective, I'm really glad that you kind of talked about that. So that kind of gives me at least a holistic idea in what exactly the organization is about and what is it that you're doing, how does the future look like. But all those questions aside, towards the end of this, enough of those work professional conversations. Heart to heart, I want to understand from the both of you, hear from you, that why this domain? Or I'm pretty sure that you are seasoned professionals, and you could be in a leadership position in any big shot company right now. Why come to this domain at this age? And startup, generally youngsters do startups because they're at the beginning of your careers. You guys are like, seasoned. You have experience, you have the connect, you have the knowledge. You could easily be a top-notch CXO in any organization. So why this step? What intrigues you here? I just want to hear a personal question, not from the work aspect here. And either of you can get started on that. I'd love to hear about that.
That's a nice question. So definitely that's really valid, like why you are starting a business at this stage, especially a startup. Like most of the people do it, they're listed. But there is some difference the way we are coming up, the business model which we are bringing up, it's actually coming from the experience we have in the industry. So I believe that has a major role to play here. Than that, we have seen this happening in the industries, not only the oil and gas, but also like the construction industry or any other industry. We have seen a lot of the finished goods are not being used for its purpose and getting wasted. And it's never reused or used for its purpose anyway. So, and in addition to that, we have started this business in UAE and also India. UAE is one of the commercial or the logistic hub of the world, and also the Middle East. So it's a place where you can see this happening more than any other place in the world because of this being the commercial or logistics hub of industrial equipments and things like that. So we have, since this is coming from our experience, we had to wait for some time to bring this idea, and we have been in this geographical region to get this idea conceived by us. So it took some time, but it's a great time to start with a new concept, and it's good for everybody, for human being and for the industrialist, all the people. So we still believe we have a young blood within us, which makes us to start something new at this stage. So it's age. I'll say age is just a number. So that's it.
To that, I'll say right idea, right people, right time, right place. That is the summary of what I understand from what you said, Anup. So thank you for sharing that with us. Adit, what's your why? Let's hear from you too.
My vibe is very simple. Of course, the bigger philosophy of UNSDG, of course, it just makes sense, next generation and cleaning the earth. But what I have felt, and I have, unfortunately or fortunately, I still am associated with a lot of CXOs, is this huge question mark that they have when we talk about sustainable technology or even supply chain technology. So there's this huge question mark: digital continuity, SCM node integration, SAP portal integration for the material management section. They don't think beyond technology. This is not a technology problem, isn't it? So when you talk about few things about doing a test, doing a health test or a QA, a quality test using a VR, which we will give to the procurement officer. He wears a VR kit. We integrate that with his warehouse management system. He can see his own SKUs coming up, maybe if you want to rotate it or 3D, and then tell that, yeah, this is a good material. When you go and ask a CIO, his immediate pushback is, no, supply chain is too boring to have such cool technology. You go and talk to some media company. So I said, no, this is the start, because you know whether it is good or bad. Is there a problem? Do you have a structure? Is there a problem, a fault in that structure? Is there a material that has cracked? You can get all that using AR and VR. And it's very cheap. It's not expensive. It just looks cool, but it's not very expensive. So use cases like this, when you go and integrate a WMS management system, you talk about safety stock, and then you tell them that by looking at it, putting a mirror, you can see what is the problem with this, and then send it out for indexing or listing, so that whatever is there in your warehouse is searchable for the entire world. If you had not been a startup, believe me, Rashmi, you will not get an approval. This is why sometimes we have to take our own, charter our own journey, isn't it? So that's one specific issue I have faced. When I have spoken to a very close friend of mine, SAP Materials Management, Anup also apparently knows this gentleman based out of Qatar Petroleum. The first question he said is this needed for supply chain? So I said, absolutely. So I asked him, do you have a delivery note? Yes. Do you put QR code on your delivery note? Now we've started. Is your gate permit integrated? He said, yes. Do you have, if it's India, do you have e-way bills? Yes, that is also there. So now you have more or less have understood the benefit of digitization of your supply chain and your transportation and your logistics. Why can't you add more? Why can't you see your physical material as well in front of your eyes? He said, makes sense. So that whole learning curve is what kind of excited me because there's a lot of use cases that you can play around. You're a marketplace at the end of the day. And if you do not do those use cases and then bring that value again to your procurement officers and to your sustainability officers, talk about stocks, talk about excess stock, look at indexing it, putting it into a marketplace, using an AR or a VR or an integration of warehouse management system. Now, it makes life very simple for them. That is when you really start rotating and doing your supply chain real time. So your control towers, your digital continuity of your supply chain, all can be implemented. That's my personal reason for getting into such a project, because you don't get an approval to do such when you are even at the CIO level in any of the big organizations, because it's just too radical for them for a boring concept called buying and selling. So this is where I thought I would going to go deep into this startup. Over to you, Rashmi.
Makes total sense. We talked about radical innovation, you talk about real-time update and, leveraging technology particularly to actually give life to an idea that is sustainable in nature. So nothing like it. It's like I said earlier, match made in heaven, matchmaking platform. And this is like matchmakers, for the industry that we're having. And nothing like it. You're basically doing the great work that should have been done. And probably that's why you needed to, start on your own. So very much reminds me of what Steve Jobs, said, that if you have an idea, just, run for it, go for it. You might not be understood by others, but you are the change makers and the deal breakers. So thank you so much for this exciting conversation. I think this was very exciting for me to, talk to you about. I'm pretty sure that the listeners definitely also had an equally exciting time. So thank you so much for joining in, and thank you so much to all those who are listening to this. And we will be back in our sustainable supply chain series, bringing crazy and amazing people, like Steve Jobs, like crazy people change the world. We'll be bringing more such crazy people for you, and we will be continuing this interaction. So thank you so much, International Supply Chain Education Alliance. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, ISC, and thank you, Rashmi. Have a good day.
Thank you, Rashmi and ISC, for giving this opportunity for industrial.com. So it was nice talking with you. So catch you later with another part, maybe.
Amazing. Cheers, guys. See you soon.